Hey guys, this is Chris, the Lower Slower Board Gamer, and we are continuing our series based on the collaboration we're doing with PhoenixKnight, Higher Ground Gaming, and IDJester on Sunday nights, and we're getting down to the nitty gritty. But this is going to be my 20 through 11 out of my top 50 board games of all time for the year 2023. And we did this live Sunday evening, the 21st. So if you want to see all four of us collectively are 20 through 11, go check it out. It's on IDJester's channel. And we're going to have the big kabash Sunday night, 8 Eastern on IDJester's channel with PhoenixKnight and Higher Ground Gaming. And that is going to be at 8 Eastern. And we're pulling out all the stops. We are going to just have a blast going through our top 10. However, this is the 20 through 11. So without any further ado, let's check out my number 20 game of all time. I have two more sports lists on my top 50. This one parked itself inside my top 20. And I'm just going to be unprepared for one moment. Y'all know me. Board games of all time. This one is brought to us by a cherished member of our very own community. So without any further ado, let's get ready to rumble, bumble, bumble. Welcome to the top 20 games of all time, weighing in at number 20, hailing all the way from Anthony Crooks of Bleacher Bums Gaming in sunny Southern California. It's Glory Days Boxing, that's right. Experience the sweet science like never before and watch the greatest of all time go toe-to-toe right here on your dining room table. Norton, Ali, Foreman, Hagler, Holmes, Tyson, Holyfield, Duran, Sugar Ray, both Leonard and Robinson. You name it, with numerous weight classes to choose from and over a dozen sets of boxers, numbering well over 1,000 pugilists. GDB has got it all for you. So gentlemen, I want a good clean fight. Watch the low blows, watch the low punches, watch the rabbit punches. In case of a knockdown, you will go to a corner, I tell you. Now touch gloves and go to your corners. Glory Days Boxing is my number 20 board game of all time. And now we've got my number 19. I don't have much in the way of tile-laying games, but one day 2 or 3 years ago I decided that this all-time classic needed to be a part of my collection, and Carcassone has turned out to be one of my favorite games. You lay tiles, you try to build roads and cities, and you want to get your monasteries going because what good would things be without God's gift of beer? Make sure you have guys out working the pastures and be the one that everyone turns to in the end when they want food. This is a fun game. 2 to 5 players. 2 players, you're going for those insane scores. 3, 4, 5, a lot of strategy comes in at all player levels. And there are expansions and reboots enough to satisfy the oddest preferences. Except for midget goats. Y'all are on your own. My number 19, Carcassone. Now, my number 18, I've only had for a little over a year, but it's a great game. Anyone who has played board games has at least heard of Catan, if not played it. This is when the settlers invade some poor island, rob it of its riches and resources to erect eyesores and become the biggest dismal dot on the map. Well, my number 18 game of all time is Spirit Island. I like to call it Episode 5, The Island Strikes Back. Drive fear into the souls of all the interlopers and enlist the aid of the native Dahan peoples. Through the use of elemental powers, increase your forces and drive the peoples and their cities back into the void of the seas from whence they came to become a blight upon the earth. Good for 1 to 4 people. The solo really does well. It's really, really tricksy, and you've got to do 1 or 2 plays to get the hang of whatever spirit that you are trying to portray in the game to really understand how it works, because they all work differently. But this game has got a lot of replayability, and it is a blast. I really enjoy it. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, but I will always love playing my number 18, Spirit Island. Now, this one is an oldie but a goodie. It was introduced. I was introduced to this game in the late '80s. My brother and I went to our aforementioned friends to spend weekends, and this is one of the board games he had, and we learned how to play it, and we loved it. And my number 17 game of all time is Axis and Allies. Choose one of the 5 major powers and lay siege to your tabletop for a few hours. Invade Germany, fend off Pearl Harbor, defend the Indian subcontinent to Japanese advances. Let the world feel the claws of the Great Bear. There are many ways to gain victory in this game, and just as many ways to have fun and create memories that will last a lifetime. And hope that one lone infantry unit keeps rolling those ludicrous ones. Staying on the beach, not dying. Axis and Allies, my number 17. Now, sometimes I'm impressed upon by other gamers I trust, and I cave to peer pressure. Just ask IDJ, Tony's Board Life, Rough Swordsman Award Gamer, and now Higher Ground Gaming and PhoenixKnight. But I also took a recommendation a few years ago from another YouTuber. Might have heard of him, Z Garcia on the Dice Tower. And I bought, on his recommendation, my number 16 game of all time, Onirum. Onirum is basically a card game. It's truly a solo game. It says 1 to 2 players, but in a 2-player game, you're splitting up the turns that the 1-player person would do. So it really is a good game of solitaire. It really is. You are playing dream cards. There are 4 different colors and different kinds of symbols. The stars or the suns, the moons, and keys. And you are trying to get 3 in a row without repeating one of those symbols in the upper left corner of the card. And if you do so, you unlock one of the doors. And there are 8 doors to unlock to win. But beware of the nightmare cards. You need to know how to get rid of them, and hopefully you only have a couple left at the end of the deck, because I have had a few where I've got 10 cards left and 5 nightmares, and it's just ugly. But this is the kind of game where you get it out and you play 3 or 4 games in an hour just to keep you busy, you know? Take it with you when you're visiting someone, seeing someone in a hospital. You want to spread out a card game, a lunch hour at work. I mean, this is a fun little game that I highly recommend. Onirum, my number 16. Now, number 15, this is my Push My Luck offering here on the list. And weighing in at number 15 is the classic game, Can't Stop. And to answer those questions bouncing around in your gray matters, no, I cannot. We've played this as a family game for decades, and Mom always wins because the rest of us know we can make it the whole way up and win in one turn, and Mom just sits there and lets us lose. But how you play this game is you're rolling 4d6 and moving up tracks number 2 through 12, and place markers based on any combinations of 2 die 6 that you just rolled. But you only have 3 markers per turn, and they need to stay in those columns. You can't change columns in the middle of your turn. But yeah, I just keep rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling, and crap, your turn. I just can't stop. My number 15 board game of all time. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Surprisingly, I don't have many Star Wars board games. I'd love to get Rebellion, but the price point is really high, and you gotta have 2 players, and it's really going to be above Ethan's pay grade as far as doing, I really think, because it's a huge investment, and sometimes he's not capable of that. Carcassone, no problem. He struggled through with Scythe and likes it. Lords of Waterdeep, but I don't want to push my luck. Probably, you know, Star Wars. It's me. It's Star Wars. But Ron and I have been playing Decipher Games' Star Wars customizable card game ever since it came out in 1995. It is an OG deck builder. I never got into Magic. I never got into Yu-Gi-Oh! I never got into Pokemon. But Star Wars, man, you try to reduce your opponent to 0 force points, and you can use Han and Chewie and the Falcon, Luke and Old Ben, Obi-Wan and the droids, Vader, and the Imperial fleet. A never-ending fountain of stormtroopers. Hell, you could even see if you can make a Jawa deck work. Never tried that one. Let's see if I can sneak one in on Ron. So get to battling for the sake of the galaxy, and remember, the Force will be with you. Always. My number 14 board game of all time, Star Wars customizable card game. Okay. All I can say is that any game where reproduction is a game mechanic, I'm sold. And my number 13 board game of all time is Stone Age by Z-Man Games. Yeah, it's worker placement. You can get resources to feed your thundering hordes and go hunt, get food, build huts, increase your culture. And you can always go to the Make a Meeple Hut, affectionately known by my gaming group as Jar Jar's House of Sin. 2 go in, 3 come out. I just love this game. You make tools and help you do what you do better, and see if you can figure out how effective it is to attach this rock thingy to the stick thingy. Look, we don't need gnaw the trees down no more. Laughs abound in my number 13 game of all time, Stone Age. Okay, I'll come right out and say it. I love Ticket to Ride. It's my number 12 board game. It's a good playing length, under an hour, usually with 5 people. Plays really well with 3. It's a good introductory game. It is easy to teach and get people playing this. It's a fantastic, fun game. You choose routes and claim tracks between cities by playing and filling those routes with trains that you have using the color cards you've collected. As long as they match the colors of the route, you can take it. And you just hope to have the greatest rail empire by the end of the game, and sometimes the scoring at the end is what makes or breaks your game. You don't know what hidden points are out there, so hope you've done enough. A fun Euro game and an easy one to introduce folks into the hobby. All kinds of different maps to choose from. I have the base game and also Nordic countries, and I love butchering Scandinavian names like I was calling a hockey game. So, all aboard! Engine number 12, Ticket to Ride. And the final game in this portion of my list, my number 11 game. And it's the last one to not quite breach the top 10. Doesn't mean I like this game any less. It's a fantastic game, and it is Scythe by Stonemaier Games. Scythe is a good resource management game, worker placement game where there's a threat of combat, but that's not the game's focus. This is not a combat game. And as it turns out, I think the game works really well without battle being the major concern, because you do need to fight for resources, and you do need to increase your technology, and you need to be more popular with the common folk. There's a lot to this game, there really is. It's post-World War I, alternate Europe, and everyone is trying to pick up the pieces and race for the central mythical factory and prop themselves up to be the greatest nation extant. Get food and metal and oil and wood and build your monuments and build your mechs, hoping to snatch success from all those around you and win the game. My number 11 board game of all time, Scythe. And that is my top 50 of all time. Well, yeah, right. It's part of my top 50, but this is my 20 through 11 of all time. Guys, if you have any questions about these games, let me know. I'd be more than happy to point you in a direction, offer advice, help you figure out if this game might be for you. And don't forget to come over to IDJester's channel, where Higher Ground Gaming, PhoenixKnight, and IDJ and myself were collectively collaborating and doing our top 50. IDJester and Higher Ground Gaming had done 100 down to 51, and we're taking it home together. And it culminates Sunday night, the 28th, the evening before Memorial Day. 8 o'clock Eastern over on IDJester's channel. Please come check it out. The guys would really appreciate a big turnout. And that's all I've got for you this time. So thank you very much. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Go ahead and click the little dinger bell thingy so that way you'll know whenever content is uploaded. And if you have any comments or questions or anything, put them down in the doobly-doo because I check it out on the regular. Guys, thanks again. This is Chris, the Lower Slower Board Gamer. Keep on rolling.